Good morning, everyone. I'm Kevin Allen of USA Today, and I'm joined by my podcast partner, Tom Laidlaw, the former NHL defenseman for the New York Rangers and Los Angeles Kings. This is the Laidlaw and Allen Report, appearing twice a week. And Tom, I want to get us started here talking a little bit about Alex Galchenyuk. And, he was part of that big trade with Phil Kessel. He went from the Coyotes to the Penguins, and the Penguins thought, if they're going to give up a dangerous scorer like Phil Kessel, they wanted to get back maybe a younger player with some potential. But it really hasn't worked out for him. He has just a couple of goals. I think he has 10 points. He's fallen at the start of the season. He was a top six guy. He's all the way down in the fourth line. And today in The Athletic, I saw a story where Jim Rutherford is quoted as saying, look, if he wants to play on this team right now, he's outside the top 12. And when Crosby and Bukestad get back from injury, he could find himself not even in the lineup. What do you make of him looking back at that trade now? Should they have known this? How do you view this?
So he's the first overall pick in the draft too, correct?
Yeah, it was and a lot of potential.
Right. So you know what I look at when I think of that story, I think of Dan Cleary, who ended up with the Detroit Red Wings, winning a few Stanley Cups. He was a high draft pick, I think, of the Chicago Blackhawks many years ago. And when I was working with IMG, we represented him, and it high expectations. He was going to be a great player. It didn't work out. He bounced around from team to team. Ultimately, he became a free agent and ended up in Detroit and had I don't know how many years there. I think he won a couple of cups with the Red Wings and had a fantastic finish to his career. I just see when a player is drafted that high, obviously there's talent there, right? You can't have that many scouts that really think they're that wrong about the player. There's something there. Now, has he lost his confidence? Is he just think that he's always going to get a second chance? He's not smart enough to see what's going on. I don't know the player at all. I've never dealt with him, so I don't know what's going on there. But I think Jimmy Rutherford's a smart man. He doesn't miss that often, right? So he saw the talent level there. Is this young guy working hard enough? Maybe it needs to get to the point where it's just like, that's it. You've got no options anymore, and you're a free agent. You got to find a job, go to training camp on a tryout. But again, when I look back and I look at that story and I'm watching him and I'm thinking of Dan Cleary, it's the same kind of thing. These high expectations didn't work out, bounced from team to team, but he finally has to get to the right place. And maybe that's what has to happen. As long as he now is owned by a team, they can trade his rights wherever they want him. In Galchenyuk's case, with Dan Cleary's case, once he got to the point where he was a free agent, now he said, okay, where is the right place for me? And the team was saying, okay, we're going to come in and give you a chance because we think there's a spot here for you. Maybe that's what has to happen to Galchenyuk, to get someplace else that is a good fit for him to kind of back away. Don't worry about your salary right now. Get to the right spot, get your career going again, because it's a shame to see a player that talented. It's just not working.
Well, we both had a senior moment because it seemed like he was first overall, but he was third. I just looked to make sure. Yeah, because after I said that, I thought, no, yeah. I don't think he was, but he was third overall. Yeah. I mean, the point is still the same.
Yep.
Very talented guy. I agree with that. And, I wonder, too, when you look back, and I want to get your thoughts on this as a former player. He started out, obviously, in Montreal, and he got in there, and he was a 30-goal scorer. There was always a lot of debate about whether he was a center or a winger. And I wonder if you start in a market like Montreal, where you're under a microscope, how you play, how you live, always the scrutiny. I wonder, can that damage a young player? Like, would he have been better, starting his career in a smaller market where not as much attention would have been paid to his ups and downs? Like, I mean, he certainly lived under the microscope. I mean, I think they were kind of ready to trade him when he ended up in Arizona.
Yep. Well, to me, like, it's amazing. You'd think because these guys are professional athletes, they play in front of thousands of people in the arena and millions of people on TV, that their confidence level is sky high. But with professional athletes, confidence is such a huge thing, and it comes and goes so easily. Those athletes that have confidence in themselves, that hasn't happened overnight, and they can lose it and then they can get it back again. To me, I just look at a kid that talented, and I just got to believe that confidence is such a big thing. When I've watched him play, it doesn't seem like he's doesn't work hard at the game. I think he works hard enough at the game. Again, that confidence, to me, you're right. So you're playing in Montreal, all these expectations. They don't care then at that point that you're an 18, 19, or 20-year-old young man. If they have an article to write that's negative towards you, or fans want to boo you, they are going to boo you. You're wearing the Montreal Canadiens jersey. That's all they care about. So I think, to me, like I hope that it's just terrible to say this, but I hope that he ultimately gets to the point where he can pick a place that is better for him. And some team says, listen, come on in here. You're going to be a fourth line guy or a third line guy. We know how talented you can be and get going again. But it's just, to me, I agree with you. Going into Montreal, having an hour workout early, that could destroy anybody's confidence.
Well, now my dogs are at it. So,
all right.
Go ahead. Let's move on to a different subject. And you and I had talked about this off air. Georgiev, the young goalie with the New York Rangers, Alexander, it looks to me like he has stolen the net away from Henrik Lundqvist. And, that's not easy to do. Lundqvist, in addition to being a terrific goalkeeper, is as a guy, in my opinion, that's very popular with his teammates. And I think this was quite a feat. So now here's the question. Henrik Lundqvist is not a spring chicken, as my grandmother used to say. And he had said that he was willing to stay with this rebuild. Do you think he's changed his mind a little bit? If he looks to, and they got another young goalie coming, and I'm a little concerned that Henrik Lundqvist now probably doesn't feel the same way as he did before.
Well, listen, it's a short window here that Georgiev has played so well, and as all young players, as we know with them, it doesn't mean he's going to continue to play that well. It certainly bodes well for the Rangers long term that there's a goaltender that looks like, wow, like what a competitor, right? Like he competes, he's a great teammate, he's very positive there and everything. So a lot of good signs from him. Listen, if it continues like this, and he is the goaltender, they make the playoffs, and Georgiev is in net going into the playoffs, and obviously things have got to change for Lundqvist. He's going to want to. He's a proud man. He's going to want to continue. I don't think we're at that point yet. I think to me it's a positive for the Rangers because really they can rest. If part of the issue of the last few years is that Lundqvist has got too much playing time and he needs to rest, they've certainly got that now because Georgiev is playing so well. So I think it's something that we need to watch and need to monitor. It's a good problem to have, but because it's Lundqvist, because of who he is in the city, because of what he means to the team, and like you said, to his teammates, it is going to have to be handled properly by him and by the Rangers there. But so far, like he has proven that he is a New York Ranger. He wants to finish his career as a Ranger. He treats the fans, the city, the organization with the utmost respect. So I think it'll get done. And again, Georgiev is still that young player, but man, he's played fantastic. And listen, I think the world of Lundqvist, he's just an ultimate competitor, leader, classy guy. So I think it'll all work out for him. But yeah, he's got to be sitting there wondering, well, he's happy for the kid, but at the same time, he wants that net.
Yeah, and I had talked to him in September and at the NHL media tour, and he had said that he was just thrilled by what the Rangers had done in the offseason. And he admitted that in the second half of last season, it wasn't much fun for him as the team had sort of really spun out of competitiveness and really just, wasn't performing to his liking. And he was concerned about it, but he was really bullish about the organization, and even said he was thinking about that. He could play into his 40s. He was so excited. Now, obviously, it's a little bit different. I think the key thing for me, and I think you alluded to it, is when it becomes time to make a decision, that it's all Henrik's call. Like he's earned that right, in my opinion. Yep. To if he wants to go somewhere and try to win a cup, trade him to that team. And if he wants to stay, then just pay him his money and use him as a tutor and a backup. And I'm not sure we could even guess how he's going to feel about that. Like you said, he's a New York guy. He told me that he was considering, and Swedish players, as you know, always go home. They go back to Sweden, but he's thinking about being a New Yorker. He feels like a New Yorker. So I think this is going to be an interesting decision for him at some point. If this, like you said, keeps up, you got to be able to sustain it, because I think Lundqvist is still a pretty good goalie, and I assume you do as well.
Oh yeah, that's the thing to me. Like I know there's been some criticism of Lundqvist. If anything, he's almost like he's such a great competitor. Like he's so hard on himself, and he plays with such emotion out there. Like if a puck goes by him, like I'm not always crazy about it all the time when a puck goes by him, and he gets pretty vocal to his teammates. That as a defenseman, sometimes you don't like that, especially as a young defenseman. It's tough, but you know what? He comes to the right place. It's coming from his heart. He wants to win. He's very passionate about the wins and his team. So you see why he's doing it. But Yeah, listen, I think he's fantastic. If part of the problem, like he keeps himself in tremendous shape, but part of the problem is he's just been playing too much. Wow, this is a fantastic thing. Let Georgiev play well. He gets lots of good game in, so he's the guy of the future. Rest up Lundqvist, so down the stretch he can get going again. To me, it's a fantastic problem. Again, if you're Lundqvist, I'm assuming he's sitting there. He's a proud man. He wants the net. So there's a lot of thoughts that are going on in his head, but I don't think it's a bad thing in New York.
I want to go back just to Galchenyuk for just one moment. I remember a question I wanted to ask you. And this goes back to the last show when we were talking about, what a player considers proper behavior by coach and by management. In this case, Jim Rutherford spoke to a reporter about Galchenyuk, and I don't, calling him out is too strong. I think he was just being honest. He was just saying, yeah, I'm sure the reporter asked him, well, where is Galchenyuk? Is that acceptable?
I think it's acceptable because I think in my mind, I'm guessing that Jimmy Rutherford may be lighting a little bit of a fire under him too, and letting him know that, listen, you just don't have a job that's given to you here. You have to go out and perform. Like right now, he's got a job, but it isn't always going to be there. So yeah, I think it's fine. I think it's because he's sending a message. See, I don't think that's anything derogatory towards the player. I think he's very truthful, and that's always been a knock sometimes with players, with management, that they want more. They want the truth more. Well, that's pretty much the truth. I mean, you can't be much more truthful than that. So
yeah, no, that's raw honesty right there.
Yeah.
To be sure. Tom, Winnipeg Jets. Are we giving them enough love? I mean, we thought, I think we being the media collectively.
Am I the media now? I guess I am.
Oh yeah, you are. Yeah.
Oh,
You're part of the media. I mean, you wear many different hats. You're the true get guy. You're the you're the survivor guy. You're the retired player. You're motivational speaker, and you're in the media. We thought they were in trouble when Byfuglien was gone. And you look at their defense, and it's not inspirational. There's guys there, and you're going, well, I mean, they're NHL players, so they're good players, but it's not the St. Louis Blues defense.
Yep.
It's not the Nashville Predators defense. Yep. But here they are. They're 18-10. They're solidly in the playoffs there, in their division. They've played pretty darn well. They've overcome the fact that they didn't have Byfuglien. What do we make of this team in the long run?
Right. So they lose Byfuglien, who's gone, who's an all-star player. Trouba is now with the Rangers, who's playing fantastic with the Rangers. Myers, big defenseman that's left as a free agent, to sign with Vancouver. All right-shot defensemen, all guys that can play on top six, I think, on pretty much every team in the National Hockey League. So you would say, wow, they've lost a lot. How are they going to survive that? To me, that's why they've survived. Right? I think it's one of those cases, again, and you got to give Paul Maurice a lot of credit as their head coach, too, to say, listen, it's kind of us against the world, similar to the Islanders. They lose Tavares, and instead of saying, well, it's a sinking ship, we're in trouble, they rallied together, and they use that as a way to say it's us against the world. We need to play better defensively. We need to pay more attention to detail. We need more work ethic. And I think that's what's happened in Winnipeg, is they've got a talented enough team. Yes, they've lost some pieces, but I think that makes everybody else now step up their game and play better, particularly defensively. And I think it shows that's what to me, it's surprising when that happens to teams, how quickly people in the media want to write them off to say, it can't work. I've seen so many times where those things happen, when they lose players that you think are really going to hurt the team. And obviously, they've got young players coming up now; they get more of an opportunity. So it's not much of a surprise to me, especially when it's a veteran coach like that that's been around before, and they've got enough talent there, enough leaders. So it's good to see. No, you're right, I don't think we do give them enough love. I think they're a very good hockey team.
Well, and we didn't mention Kevin Hayes too. Like he had gotten there, and they really needed a number 2 center, and I think he was kind of perfect for what they have. Like they have a lot of guys, young forwards, Connor, and they've got Patrick Laine, and they've got Wheeler as a veteran guy. They got a lot of wingers who get the job done, and they needed one more center, and it was disappointing for them when he left as well. So, and they've had injuries. Like they have dealt with a lot. And as you said, Paul Maurice has done a remarkable job of, kind of keeping that together. I think everybody sort of thought they were going to spin downward, and they have not. They have played pretty darn well, to be sure. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about Taylor Hall, and let's start here and in with Winnipeg. Like I've heard certainly that Winnipeg could be in the Taylor Hall sweepstakes. And, where do you see Hall going, and where are we at in that trade situation?
Yeah. So, kind of following through with the conversation we just had, I think a lot, like other teams that mentioned have been Colorado. People have speculated that maybe could go there. See, but I don't think it really fits with the Colorado. Like for me, if I'm sitting there, I think I've got enough top end guys in Colorado. I need to strengthen my bottom six. I need to strengthen my fifth or sixth defense. I need to have more of that depth guy. Now, I do think in Winnipeg, you could add some more top end scoring there in Winnipeg, and it could help them. But again, that's not how they built their success. They built their success on being that strong team play. The one place, and this people may mock me for this and think that it can't happen, but given that the two general managers run the teams, how about Taylor Hall ending up with the New York Islanders? What do you think of that?
Wow, yeah, that would really be interesting, and I think it's certainly a possibility. When you, like you said, because of the general managers, and Lou Lamoriello is a good deal maker, and Ray Shero is as well. What about the Edmonton Oilers too? Like, wouldn't that be something?
Yeah,
to be able to get him back with that team. And it's funny because I remember saying as soon as they traded him, I said, well, they just created a huge hole on that team that they have not filled. And
that's a good point, because that's a team that right now it's just those two guys, Draisaitl and McDavid, that are carrying the load there pretty much. So adding it, you're right. Now there's another team, right, that kind of goes against what I'm saying. Like, okay, you've already got enough top end talent. Well, they don't have enough top end talent.
No, not close.
Need that other guy. That's a good point. So all right, so let's think about that. Islanders, Devils. Tough deal to do. But again, normally those top two teams, because they're so close, in the same division, that's a tough deal to do. But those two general managers are strong guys, because there's the fear there that if you're Ray Shero, you send them to the Islanders. Well, now Taylor Hall helps them win the cup, right? Or they get closer to the cup. And now you look terrible for giving Lou Lamoriello that final piece. But from the flip side, Ray's going to say, well, I'm a strong enough GM. I know that I'm going to get enough back that now we may not win the cup this year, but we're going to be contenders going forward because we get more good players coming down the road, right? So it takes two pretty strong general managers to pull off a deal like that. I do like the Edmonton idea. That's an excellent fit. It is strange, right, that a top player like that would get traded away and then come back again a few years later to the same team. So that'd be cool. That'd be a good one.
Well, I mean, and we're looking at, I think, a deal could cost 2 first-round draft picks, and maybe your best prospect, or a combination of a first-round pick, your best prospect, and someone off your roster. This won't be a easy deal to make for anybody. I mean, you'll have to give up something to get something, to be sure.
But see, here's the thing, though. I mean, I hear you. I guess that's the going rate for it. But I'm just thinking to myself, it's a rental, right? So,
unless you send them to a place that can sign them.
Yeah. But again, that's what we talked to. To me, I'd rather get that deal done now, because there's more teams that are in contention that are going to say, well, if they're in contention to make the playoffs and potentially win. Plus, there are also more teams that are saying, well, I don't want to let them go someplace else in my division where I'm playing against them. I want to get them on my team. So that's why, to me, this is not a trade deadline deal. This is a deal that gets done before Christmas, and you get your best value, I think.
Yeah, but here's the next question. Like, where's Taylor Hall's game at right now?
I know. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, where do you think it's at? I mean, is he still the same player that he was?
Well, I'll tell you, the year he won MVP was that 2 seasons ago. He deserved MVP. When you watched him play, in fact, I think I did a podcast about him too, talking about the attitude he was playing with. He had a penalty shot against Henrik Lundqvist, and he walked in like he had total confidence in himself, fired it up over top of Lundqvist's glove hand into the top corner. And what really amazed me about after I saw him score that goal, it was like that he expected to score the goal. When I watch him play now, no, he's not back to where he was at all. He's not that dominant player on that. He's not that confident guy. So that's an excellent point. You're going to give up all that you want to get for him, that you have to get for him. Man, it's like, I don't think you're really getting that great of a player. Now, maybe that changes as soon as he gets someplace else, that he's just, fed up, what's going on there in New Jersey. I don't know, but he's certainly not playing as well as he had. The other player too, it's actually a critical article. The New York Post ran an article about PK Subban, how bad he's playing, how he's spending more time doing commercials and everything than he is playing, and he is not playing well at all right now.
You loved that article, didn't you? But
Well, I just,
Did you actually plant that seed?
you know what? I just think, like I've said so many times, I think PK Subban is fantastic. He's an intelligent young man. He's great for the league. They're charismatic, all that kinds of stuff. He's got a ton of talent. But I fear that he's going to look back at his career sometime and he's going to say, well, all this other stuff worked out great for me, but I didn't get everything out of my career that I could have. I just think he's such a talented guy. And he's right now, the way it's going, he's going backwards. He's not going to the point wwhere now he's gone to a New Jersey organization to now help make them better and make them contenders. It's almost like he's putting in his time. He's wearing the jersey, but he's always using them so he can go out there and do his marketing.
Yeah, and getting back to Taylor Hall, where we started this conversation, he's not the same player he was, but I think he really is. I think this is all about the confusion that he is facing this season, not knowing what his future is going to be. Like I think he probably has felt since he's been there that this may or may not be his permanent home, and now he's finally facing the reality of that's going to come to pass. And I think he has struggled with this because I don't think that's easy. I think you learn, and tell me if I'm wrong, you're a former player, but I think you get to where you like the players in your room and you've got buddies there. And so when you start to think, well, I'm going to move on, I don't think it's as easy as people say it is.
Totally, yeah. Yeah, I agree 100%. Even when I noticed when Hines, their coach, got fired, he came out, Taylor Hall was interviewed the day after. It's almost like he went out of his way. I was kind of concerned. He went out of his way so much to make sure it was a point that he did not have anything to do with that firing or didn't know about it. I thought it was odd. Like, it didn't seem like he was getting asked the questions from the reporter. Like, he felt some like guilt because, his management coming to him and say, well, will you stay if we fire the coach mentality? It's like he wanted to go out of his way to prove that wasn't the case. So I agree with you. Those kind of things pop up. Players don't want that. Very few players want to be, maybe it's different in other sports, but very few hockey players want to be known as the guy that is getting a coach fired or is in that position where they can get a coach fired. Like even Wayne Gretzky, we were in LA. It was very clear, I think, in most of our minds that he had the power to do that. But I think Wayne went out of his way to make sure that was not the case. Like him and Robbie Ftorek, who I think the world of, we told so many stories about, great friend of mine. I just admire him totally. He wasn't, Robbie and Wayne weren't the same kind of guys, but Wayne never did anything, I think, to, at least especially publicly, to undermine Robbie or make it look like he was trying to get Robbie fired. I think ultimately Robbie did get fired, but I think Wayne did Wayne have part of it? I don't know, but I think Wayne really went out of his way to make sure he wasn't being that kind of guy to get the coach fired. Yeah.
We have this week, Tom, the Board of Governors meetings, and what's on the agenda, which nobody would have guessed a month ago, is the coach's code of conduct, and all deriving obviously from what happened with Bill Peters and Mike Babcock and Mark Crawford. We had something going on with Peter Laviolette as well. Two things. The discussion about whether or not he had sort of propagated a fighting culture where, while he didn't order players to go out and fight, he sort of created this understanding that that's what he kind of expected you to do. At least was how I interpreted the allegations by Carcello. And then, of course, there was this video. And it's really a remarkable video, and it really speaks to why sometimes video replay isn't what it appears to be. And it looks pretty clear on the video that he punches Ville Leno in the head when they were both together in Philadelphia while they're sitting on the bench. Now, subsequent to that, ESPN has interviewed Leno, and he said, I don't really think he was trying to hit me. And Laviolette says, I was trying to hit my hand, and I missed, and I glanced off the side blow off his helmet. And he said, that's really not me. And two players have sort of backed up his version of what happened, all that. So it appears that he was kind of innocent on that. I don't know anything about, the fighting aspect of it. Now, the reason I bring that up, one, I want to talk about, what do you think the owners are going to do, but also this comes at a time when Laviolette's under a little pressure there because the Predators aren't playing well. So let's attack the code of conduct part first and then talk about the Predators.
Yeah. So code of conduct, to me, obviously race should never be brought into it. There should be no physical contact. And those should be, that's bottom line, a coach should never be putting his hand on any athlete at any level in any sport. That should never happen. And obviously with race, it's the same thing that should never even remotely come into it. The issue of forcing the player to fight or creating a fighting culture, I think the only time you want to do that is when your dog is chewing the toy. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, to me, I think.
By the way, I just gotta say those dogs have not touched that toy. Since get immediately on the podcast, and what do? They fight over it. They squeak it. They fight over it.
Yeah, and they want to be on TV. That's why they're like total egomaniacs. They're narcissists. They don't care about us at all. They want their time in the sun. We love dogs.
I don't want to say it's Murphy's Law because one of the dogs' names is Murphy.
There you go. See, the thing about fighting too, to me, the game fighting now to try to get, if a coach now is trying to create a fighting culture in his team, I think he's wasting his time. I think the game has changed so much now that if you're getting your team to fight, I don't think that is even part of the game right now. So I think that's ridiculous. So again, there should be no physical contact, no race. The fighting issue, again, I think is a moot point. The other part of it is, like we talked about this in the past too, like these mind games or the things they're saying to them. The big thing, maybe it's more, it's not as much the code of contact. It's more of an education process for the coaches to say, when has this ever worked? It just doesn't work. These kinds of, if you want to motivate players, you have ice time, right? If a player is not playing the way he needs to play, then you take away ice time from him. Like saying things to him, and he might. That's where we go back. Like the more and more I thought about this stuff, and the coaches that have done in the past, and some of the things that I remember, I honestly think coaches were doing it more for their own more egos or whatever, to show that they had the power over these players. I don't ever think that those mind games have worked. I think the smart coaches that are out there are the ones that know how to put the right players on the ice at the right time, prepare their teams, make sure the players know what the game plan is. So to me, the code of conduct thing, yes, it's going to be important. It's going to be a tough one, though. I just think educating the coaches, like what really works with today's players, is the biggest thing for them.
Well, I also think that coaches have sort of evolved. I talked to Mike Keenan yesterday. I talked to Jeremy Roenick before, and he was just telling the story. He's told many times of Keenan having his hands on his throat on the bench at a preseason game in his rookie season, and it's in his book. He's talked about it for years. But here's the thing: Mike Keenan and Jeremy Roenick are the closest of friends. Right. As Jeremy says in my article, I love Mike Keenan. And he said he's responsible for, he felt turning him into the player he kind of became. So I was talking to Mike about that. And, as he said, that was early in my career. And he goes, by the time I got to the end of my career, he said, I was a different coach. And I think that's true. Like today's coaches just are not the same as the coaches we had in the 1980s. And it's that they've done that sort of to themselves. Like, compare like a guy like John Cooper, who to me sort of epitomizes kind of a modern coach. He's a lawyer, literally a lawyer, and who, decided he wanted to do this for a living and set out and worked upon it. Like, I just can't imagine him doing what Bill Peters or even Mike Babcock's been accused of. It's just not, he's just
he's an intelligent man, right?
Yeah. But it's just like Babcock is old school. Peters is old school, and they still sort of have the iron fist. I think Cooper's demanding, but I think he's kind of come up at a different time where they kind of know that they don't do those kind of things and wouldn't do that. So I think a lot of it's kind of.
I hear you with the old school modern stuff, but I got to tell you, I think they're egomaniacs, the guys that do that. Like the Mike Babcocks of the world that play those games. I think they want to be able to say that I created this scenario here, and I did this masterful job of playing with these guys' minds to get them to play their best. It just doesn't work that way. Like it's like he wants to be. He wants to be about Mike Babcock. It's not about Mike Babcock, and that's why I keep talking about Gerard Gallant, Craig Berube, These guys, they make it about the team. They make it about the players. When you hear them talk, they don't talk about their strategies they put in place. They talk about how the team performed and how they're going to play in the next game. The Mike Babcocks of the world want to talk. Like one of his final comments was, before I got fired, was, well, I'll bet I'm Mike Babcock. Well, it's not about Mike Babcock. It's about the team. Yeah. And that's why I hear with the old school stuff, but I just think it's ego more than anything with those guys.
Yeah, well, I think something will come out of it. It's probably a good thing, to be honest.
Yeah, totally.
That we have that, and then finally, just about Peter Laviolette. This Predators team, just doesn't seem to be clicking. The offense just isn't there. I don't think the defensemen are as engaged as they've been in the past. There just seems to be something off with that team.
Yeah. Well, Peter Laviolette knows how to coach. I mean, he knows the game of hockey, but at some point, it just seems like teams just shut out the coach. And I agree with you. When I watch Nashville play, they've shut out the coach. He's just doing whatever they want to do right now. Like we talked about this last one too, where Ryan Johansson got that the elbowing penalty. He clearly just didn't care about his team anymore. He was carrying the puck. It was clear he elbowed the opponent right in the head. Why would you do that? You're not concentrating on the team. And I think that's a sign. One of the signs to me that the team has just stopped listening to the coach. I agree with you. If that continues, they're going to be in trouble there. Yeah?
I think some people thought that once they got rid of PK Subban, that was going to solve all their problems. Maybe you were one of them. I'm not sure about that. Yeah. Anyway, we've run out of time here on the Laidlaw Allen Report. I'm Alan. He's Laidlaw. We'll be back later.
See you Wednesday.